Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be Bold, Fierce, Unstoppable. I'm your host, Zach Lyotis. In today's podcast, we have Regi Rodgers. He brings a provocative conversation anytime he is called upon to speak or do an interview. Venturing to Las Vegas from Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, to Sin City to begin a new life after a sudden loss of his father in a car accident in late 2000. He also released his first book and CD titled Playa de Praya that same year, which he dedicated to his late father. The author is a keen observer of the relationship field, the space where people come out to play. Some play fair, many with hidden agendas, most without skill and clarity. His latest book is titled Love at First Spirit. This also comes with a workbook, which is a 21-day challenge for ladies. People call him a relationship guru, and he is known as a #1 relationship coach who gives dating from an expanded conscious perspective. He is evolutionary and revolutionary. He provides real talk about real relationships that expands into contemporary mainstream consciousness. He appears on Live in Las Vegas every month as a dating and relationship guru and other local cable and national radio programming as well. He will be releasing a new book on dating and relationship in 2021. Help me welcome Regi to the show. Hello, Regi. How are you?
Hey, Zach, what's happening? I'm listening to all that you're saying, and I'm wondering who the heck is she talking about? Because I know she's not talking about me. All of that sounds so good. That stuff is awesome.
Right? Right? I know I was reading and going, damn, I'm going to learn something fresh and new today. Something fresh and new today, because we could all use some relationship advice, especially the day and age we are living in today with cyber dating and how people could hide behind the screen and really pretend maybe they are not who they portray themselves to be. Or what you said there when you say not everyone is basically coming out the way they should come out, right? So I love to talk about that. But first, could we get to the playa with prayer? That was a tongue twister. Look, can we go back to that point when you wrote that book?
Yeah, it's actually Playa to Prayer. So it's Playa #2 Pray. It's Ebonics, if you would, but it's Playa to Prayer. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess those who were probably in that sect at that time, in the religious sect, probably got a little bit upset because I took the word prayer and made it prayer instead of, I made it Praya instead of prayer. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that upset a lot, turned over a lot of carts for some, if you would. But it's actually about everybody has a playing side,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care what it is, who we are. We all have that side of us, and there's too much of anything is called overkill. So what I did was I wanted to balance it out. For me, I always heard that word deliverance, and it's a religious word, if you would, but deliverance always had two parts attached to it for me. It should take you from something to something better.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it take you from? Well, for me, it took me from playa to prayer. But if you stay in anything too much, it becomes overkill. Too much prayer, for some can be overkill because they don't really get a realistic view of what real life is because they're always on their knees. But at some point, you got to get up off your knees. You got to live life. And then too much playing with from a realistic view is too much because you still have to compete in life. You still have to do life. Life comes with responsibilities and accountabilities. It's not all playing. So we created this book called Playa to Prayer, and I really wrote that for men.
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was in that realm back in that day. That book came out in 2000. So I was in that realm where I talked to a lot of men because I used to be a featured speaker a lot on the circuit back then, and it was a circuit called AIMS. AIMS stood for African American Male Empowerment Summit. So I was heavily on that circuit, and I was a lot of times that was for men, and I spoke to men, and so I wanted to get men to get an understanding of what it meant to come from something to something better. So my objective was to take them from player to prayer.
Absolutely. Deliverance is how we deliver our own soul from the one realm to the next, and how we deliver basically our life from one level to another. So I understand where you're coming from, but the objective to that word could come in so many different ways if we want to look at things with our open eyes. And I like that you said from playa to prayer, because at the end of the day, we all have a playing side, absolutely, but we all have to recognize what we also want in life. And regardless if you're praying for it or asking for it into higher powers, universal self, or higher consciousness, we all have that inside of us. So what was the greatest lessons you learned when you were going through that transitional phase from the player to the prayer transitional phase as a man and the men out there? Because a lot of women that I speak to go through this transitional phase, and we go through this awakening moment. But with men going through the trajectory of, the stigma of they should be a certain way.
Okay.
You're a provider. You have to be strong. Don't show emotion, right?
Okay.
So we're hiding in a certain degree, but then we're getting down. I think about prayer, asking, we're opening up our heart to accept and to have that deliverance come to us.
Well, I
So,
also believe too that with transformation, there's also a transference.
mhm.
You transfer, something is being downloaded when there is a transformation, something is being transferred. And so you asked me what was my takeaway. My takeaway is understanding the spirituality of all of us as human beings. We all have a spiritual encounter. So prayer is one aspect, and it's a great aspect. But there's another piece that has to also, if you want to say, let's attach an addendum to that, would be meditation.
Mhm.
So now here's the difference, because there's another word that sounds so close to meditation. It's called negitation. I
Mhm.
made that up. So if you use
I was
that
gonna say, I
similar
never
word,
heard of that
um,
one.
but negitation is someone who constantly meditates on all that is negative. So that becomes negitation. And so what are you going to transfer into your spirit? Everything that's not positive. You're going to transfer everything that's negative. So prayer is great, but again, too much of anything is overkill. So now let's attach some meditation to it. That's a lost art for so many. I think people are starting to become awakened and aware as it relates to meditation, but it's really a lost art in a lot of sections of what we call spirituality, Christianity, the way that people approach what we call God. We want to always talk, and sometimes we need to just listen.
Mhm.
Since prayer is all about me speaking and talking and begging and asking, when meditation is just having enough confidence to believe that he's going to do what he has said he would do based off of who I am and what he's given to me as it relates to my destiny, my position, and my transformation and my transference. See, there's a transference, a download that all of us can receive if we just position ourselves for it. A lot of times we can't get the download, so it can't be transferred because we're not in position to receive it. Too much of anything is overkill. And we're always, sometimes the pendulum is swinging, and as that pendulum swings, maybe it stays somewhere, and so is an unbalance. Unbalance. Everything in life is about balance and understanding your rhythm. Go from something, as you said, the deliverance has so many aspects to it. It takes you from something to something better. But it's always a trajectory that's on the incline, not on the decline. Because when it begins to stay on that decline, then what happens is you get stagnant. You
Mhm.
should always want to keep going on an upheaval, a trajectory that takes you higher. Because as we go, we grow.
Mhm.
That's what life is all about. We grow, we go, we grow. But we never lose. We always learn. And most
Absolutely.
people, most people who look at it as if they're losing, that's the negativity of it. We don't never lose. We always learn. Whatever it is, we learn. So we just go to something better. We go from something to something better. Just let the universe do what it's going to do. Trust the process, and the process will always work itself out.
Yeah, you have to know what you want in order to trust the universe what to do. So let's talk about balance, because you're talking about the pendulum swinging one way more than the other, and prayer and meditation. I believe that absolutely, because you have to put actions into things. So how does one find balance between both spectrums?
Okay, so there's two things that I would attach to your question. First is to thine own self be true. What becomes true to you? What is your truth? Discover what your truth is and having an understanding of what your truth, because once you know the truth, the saying is the truth has the ability to set you free. But now here's the key. Know. Know thyself. That word know is a word of intimacy. So when you understand that word know, because it's a word of intimacy, because Mary, for example, and Mary said, how can I be pregnant when I have not known a man? So she's attached the word know to intimacy, right? Um, um, when you talk about the truth that you know, having the ability to make you free, it's the truth that you lay down with and become intimate with that now impregnates something in you, and then you give birth to something different. So now I have been impregnated with something that is totally different than what I'm accustomed to, because now my reality or my perspective has changed. And once my perspective has changed, this truth that I am now walking in becomes my truth. So, what is your truth? When you discover your truth, then the only onus that you have is to thine own self be true. Because the basis of all relationships, and I'm sure we're going to get in relationships, but the basis of all relationships is self. You cannot have a relationship without you. In fact, the only person in a relationship that you'll ever have control of is you. And
Absolutely.
most you women go into relationships wanting to try to change a man when you cannot change a man. If he doesn't want to change, and the reason that I'm picking on women in particular with this is because women are natural born nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
So because you guys are natural born nurturers, you always have the proclivity to want to try to change a person. You cannot. The only thing that you can change in a relationship is you. That's the only person you're going to have control over in any relationship. So that's why I say to thine own self, you got to be true, but you got to know thyself. Now, when you know yourself, then you talked about this, then you discover what's your fit. Then you discover what's your purpose. Then you discover how you want to go towards your destiny, because you start to get clear. And when you get clear, you become more intentional. And then when you become more intentional, you don't allow a lot of junk into your space. It's clutter. Then you start uncluttering your closet. You don't allow, you're particular about who you let into your space, because now the energy, you understand this energy that a person that is oozing from a person. And if the energy is wrong, your conversation is just not long. You keep it moving.
I love that one. Yeah, and that's what it is, right? It's really about knowing thyself. And a lot of people are afraid to tap into that truth of themselves, because you have to go through the emotional uproar that holds you back from getting to knowing thyself authentically the way you are without flaws. And I don't want to say it's flaws as we're flawed individuals, because we're not. We're growing and learning individuals. And a flaw is there to show us that that's not our truth. That's not who we are. So when you're saying know thyself, and how Mary talks about knowing as an intimate part of it, when we're speaking about relationship, it's almost like saying to women, I like what you say, you can't change a man. You could only change yourself. Absolutely. I tell women this all the time. Women, if you're in a relationship and you think, oh, once he puts a ring on it, he's going to change. He's not going to play basketball or hockey 5 times a week. You signed up for that when you got to know him, and no, he may not change for you because he doesn't have to. That was his agenda even while he was dating you. So now that he put a ring on it, there's no need for that to change. You just accepted at the beginning. You got to accept it while there's a ring on it. So knowing thyself is accepting the other person for who they are. So when we have difficulty in our own truth because we're not expressing ourselves, how does one get to that point to express themselves, to know thyself, and to attract that partner in their life that that accepts them for who they are as well?
Very good question. It's so simple though. And I know a lot of times people they want easy answers to hard questions, but this is a
Mhm.
very simple question and very simple answer because you as an individual have to do the work.
Mhm.
And the work that is required for you when you're talking about attracting that person that you want into your life is you have to do the individual things. For example, what are your deal breakers? Do you even know? What are
Mhm.
your deal makers? Do you even know? What are your non-negotiables? Do you even know? So if you don't know these things, how can you hit the target? You'll never hit the target. You'll keep shooting, but you're going to keep missing because you're going to miss the mark because you don't know for yourself. Again, to thine own self be true. Know thyself. What is a fit for me? So I need to sit down and I need to determine what are my deal breakers. And then I'm not going to get it all on one setting. I need to sit on that and keep coming back to that and keep coming back to that until I feel that I have maxed out. And then what are my deal makers?
Mhm.
I need to sit on that. I'm not going to get that all on one setting, but I need to just keep writing them as I get them and keep writing them and until I feel like I've maxed out. Then I need to go, what are my absolute non-negotiables?
Mhm.
So when I meet this individual, there's three things that should happen on a woman's part. And those three things on a woman's part are one, she should be ready. Two, she should know how to recognize. And three, she should know how to receive. Now, how does all this work? Easily. Um, you women are too busy trying to find me. You should never even find me. I should find you. But when I find you, because that's the pecking order, I'm supposed to find you. I know you women, liberation and independent. I'm going to find him. Now, that's why you guys are in the shape you're in. Let him find you. But when he finds you, you should be one, ready. What does ready mean? Ready means you don't have the baggage. You've done the work that's required so that when he does find you, you don't have an ex you're still dealing with. You don't have drama from the ex's girlfriend or the ex's the baby mom, all that's crazy. You've done the work to unclutter your closet so that you don't have the junk there. You're ready. Most people are not ready. Two, you know how to recognize. How do you get the recognition? Because you sat down, you understand your deal breakers, you understand your deal makers, you understand your non-negotiables. So when you sit down and have a conversation with them, there are things that you're checking off your box. You're checking. You can recognize. Oh my God, I've seen him before. Why? Because you've created him in your mind. You know what he's supposed to look like, what he's supposed to smell like, what he's supposed to feel like, what he's supposed to walk like. This is this whole dating from an expanded conscious perspective. Dating from an expanded conscious perspective is you take your focus off of what's missing and you put your focus on what you intend to create. So
Mhm.
therefore, intend to create means I've created this man in my mind. When he comes, I know how to recognize him because I've got my deal breakers up here. I got my deal makers up here. I got my non-negotiables up here. And his actions are speaking louder than his words. So it's matching. So now I know how to recognize. The recognition is like a deja vu. Man, I've been here before. Oh my God, I met this guy before. He's been running in your mind for a long time because you've been creating this guy. The last piece is receive. How do you receive him? That's where a lot of you women have a problem receiving him because you make him a bad man because you've had so many bad men. You want to make him a bad man because you've had so many. So you don't know how to receive him because he can't be a good man because I haven't had a good man. Well, if you ask the universe to send you a good man, don't you trust the universe enough to believe what he's going to do or what the universe is going to do based off of what you ask? You asked for it. Why can't it happen? So receive it. Here's what nullifies all three of those. So you got three R's: ready, recognition, receive. Here's two more R's that'll nullify those three. Rebound dating. You don't give yourself enough time to go from one to the next. It's what we call the Tarzan syndrome. You go from branch to branch, right? So you don't give yourself enough time.
Right.
And you just swing from the next branch to the next. All right. But You got to give yourself that time to do the work. That's all we keep talking about, doing the work. So rebound dating will nullify those three, and return dating will nullify. Return dating is you go back to somebody that was an ex because you feel comfortable, it's similar, it's familiar, and you just would rather be comfortable than accountable. You don't want to make yourself accountable. You want to be you want to be comfortable. So that's a lot of that. That is work there. But if you do the work, I promise you, a strong woman knows how to love, but a stronger woman knows who to love, and it'll just start working itself out.
Absolutely. I loved every word you just said right there, because I've worked with a lot of women that are miserable at past relationships. And this is something that sits deep within their core of saying, I only meet these kinds of men. Why do I meet these kinds of men? And when I say, why do you meet these kinds of men? It's because you're attracting that kind of men because you haven't done the deeper work of healing that energetic frequency within you. And then next thing you know, you're jumping another relationship. The only different thing is the name of the person that you're jumping in a relationship with, but the journey is identical because you don't know thyself. You ain't speaking up for yourself. You don't have boundaries for yourself. You don't have non-negotiables for yourself because you think, oh, maybe he will change down the road, and then we'll see what happens from there. And this is a cycle that I find a lot of women go through because they are afraid of maybe feeling alone or lonely, afraid of never finding someone. And then they go back to their ex, like you said, because it's comfortable and they know what to expect from there. So how does one break that cycle beyond knowing themselves? Because now we have this fear. We have these limited beliefs that come up, especially for women, because we are such nurturers, right? Every woman wants to nurture someone, but honey, open up to receive for someone to nurture you too. So how do we get past that point?
Great question. So here's how you get past that point. Once you do the work for yourself, now you create standards. So now you understand what becomes your fit. Now, if you were looking to hire me for a job, Zach, you already have a job description that you need to fulfill, that you need to fill. You know what that job's, because you created the job description based off of what's a fit for your company.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come in for the interview, you're going to interview me to see if I fit into the scheme of the company. You know exactly what you're looking for. You know what the prototype is for the position that you want filled, right? So you already have questions ready to go. And depending on how the conversation goes, you'll flow with the conversation, but you're going to always get back to what you feel is a fit based off of the interview and the questions you want to ask me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your whole objective is you want to fill that position, but you don't just want to fill that position with anybody. You want to make sure that you fill that position with somebody who is experienced enough for the position and they fit the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing you got to do in dating, because there are 5 stages to dating. First, you got to know what your prototype is, okay? Once you determine your prototype, though, the first stage becomes a meet and greet. So if I meet you today, here's how most women do. If I met you at the grocery store. Hey Zach, how you doing? Oh, I don't know your name. Hey, how you doing? Fine, great. Hey, listen, I was checking you out as you're walking down the aisle. I'd love to take you out. What you doing tonight? How spontaneous are you? I'm pretty spontaneous. Oh, let's go out tonight. Okay, cool. Now you're gonna call your girl. I got a date tonight. Really? Well, you got a date? Yeah, I just met this guy today. He wants to take me out. Wrong. Why? Because you don't know that guy. Why would you even make it a personal date? What you need to do is you need to say, okay, listen, I'm intrigued, but I don't know that I want to go out tonight. And if we do go out tonight, let's meet for coffee. And it's not a date because I want to ask some questions. You don't know the guy. So in that process, you want to ask those pertinent questions that fit your job description. So first question is, what makes you unique? Well, these are layered questions. By asking them what makes them unique, you're going to get, oh, we love to talk about ourselves.
Right.
Okay. So you're going to get, and people in general love to talk about themselves. So you're going to get the question you asked and then some. Then the next question you want to say, how do you spend, what's a typical day look like for you? How do you typically spend your day? Now you're not asking them what you do for a living. That's old school. Because if you ask how do you typically spend your day, you're going to get what they do for a living and then some.
Mm-hmm.
See, you're trying to get to the subterfuge of knowing who he is, what makes him tick, all of that to see if it's your fit, see if it fits your job description. And then you want to ask him, okay, so how do you typically spend your weekends? You'll see if he's social. You see if he likes to go out. You see if he likes to hang with his boys. You see all that. You're layering the questions so that, and then you say, okay, what's your family dynamic? Did you come from a two-parent? I'm just curious. How was your family? How were you reared? All these questions are layered. That's like you're interviewing him, but you don't want to come across as if you're interrogating him. Make it very natural so that it flows, so that your agenda is met. You're interviewing him. So maybe you didn't get enough information on this first meet and greet. A meet and greet could take 2 to 3 times. Once you determine that maybe this guy is somebody that I might want to pursue, then it warrants a date. That's stage 2. Now you go out on a date with them. First stage is meet and greet. Second stage is date. He may not even make it to the dating stage. So guess what you just did? You saved yourself some time, some energy, and some efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions are not all wrapped up so quickly like you women do.
Mm-hmm.
Cut across the field, cut across the grain so you can get to where you need to go. You already know what your non-negotiables are. You already know what your deal breakers are. You already know what your deal makers are. All of this, you start connecting the dots, lining it up. And if it's not a fit for you, hey, listen, our next move got to be our best move. If it's not our best move, we can't make it our next move.
Absolutely.
So
But to me is be interested, not interesting. Ask those questions, get to know your non-negotiables, know your markers that you want. But at the end of the day, this is strategy too, because as much as you're getting to know someone, it's that interview process, but have that steady flow conversation. You don't want to, I've been on a date before and I felt like a total job interview and I was like, dude, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. At the end of the day, you have to have that conversational piece and not have that pen and paper type of conversation too.
That's why I said don't come across like you're interrogating them.
Exactly.
You don't want to come across like that, like you want to just sit back and be very natural. Hey, Zach, I'm curious. What makes you unique? I'm just curious. What's the one thing that you think that makes you unique?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you're gonna answer that because I'm very calm, cool, copacetic with it, and it's just casual. And you're gonna answer it. I'll let some time go by and be like, okay, that makes you unique. That's pretty cool. I'm curious. How do you typically spend your day? What do you do normally do the day? What are some of the things you like to do? Very cool, calm, copacetic, casual, and just have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that meet and greet, here's what you're trying to pull out of the meet and greet. One, and it's what I call all of my C's in the meet and greet period. What you want to know is you want to know that you guys have some commonalities. You want to know that there's good conversation. You want to know that there's chemistry. And then you want to see if there's a connection. That's what you're trying to pull out of that meet and greet. Commonality, conversation, chemistry, connection. Now, don't base everything off of chemistry because I don't build relationships off of chemistry. Women often, oh my God, we have so much chemistry. But you can have chemistry with multiple people, but you're not going to be connected to everybody. So therefore, you want to pull to see if there's a real connection. That's the connection. Somebody asked me, I did an interview in LA, and they asked me, so Reggie, when you always talk about connection, what's connection? Well, connection is understanding energetic space, the energetic space that you operate from, and how's the vibratory frequency? Are we on that same frequency path? Are we on that same wavelength? Is there this energetic flow? That's a connection. Because when we understand the frequency and we dial into the channel, we need to be on the same wavelength. And if we're not, it goes back to what I said a while back. If the energy's wrong, conversation won't be that long because there's no flow here. It's a bad vibe. We're not flowing. So if something's blocking the flow, the vibe is not there, And that's something that you should know. And do you just want to continue to waste your time? No. Be very kind, be very cordial, and listen, I had an amazing time. I certainly appreciate you coming out. It was very fun. But you know what? I respect you, and I wish you nothing but the best. But it's just not a fit for me. And keep it moving. That's being true to yourself.
I was just about to say, ladies, you might find that difficult to do that, but at the end of the day, it's know thyself. Exactly what Reggie was saying, know thyself. And when you know thyself, you hold on to that power to be able to, maybe it didn't work out as a relationship. Maybe you could have a friendship, or maybe you just don't want anything with the individual. But at the end of the day, know thyself and have those boundaries and have your non-negotiables. Exactly everything you said. Do that inner work, because when you do that inner work, magic does happen at the end of the day. And when you're comfortable with just being in your space, you're not going to look at the external for validation or for external love to bring you and amplify you that happiness. So you have that inside of you. Happiness is going to find you. Like Reggie said, let me find you. Don't go looking for me at the end of the day. And that, I think that's very true. Let's get down to your other book called Love at First Spirit. You have a 21-day challenge that goes with that as well. Let's talk
Yes.
about a little bit more about that. What is Love at First Spirit?
Love at first spirit is all about getting you. When you see somebody, you want to get through somebody to get to somebody. You want to get through the actuality of who this person is to get to that person, right? So we're all spiritual beings. So what spirit does this person truly, really, truly operate from? So love at first spirit. I teach you three dynamics in there: love at first sight, lust at first sight, but ultimately get you to that place of love at first spirit, which is a new concept that I'm teaching because I really need to get through you to get really to you. But I can't get caught up on the external. He looks good. Well, I know a lot of pretty women that have an ugly inside, so to me it makes them pretty ugly, right? So I don't want to just get caught up on the external. I need to really see what's in the internal. What is the what type of content does this person have? What type of substance is really in this person? What kind of sustenance flows from this person? So I need to really get through to get to. I can't get stuck here. And so what I did with the 21-day challenge is I created a way for you to go all the way back to when you first had your first crush or the first person you had a relationship with. Let's go back and figure out why you picked that person. What was it about that person that drew you? Now let's continue to discover, why do you keep picking the same type of person dressed in a different outfit but the same traits? Because it goes back to your initial. So we go all the way back so we can strip those layers. For example, let me see if I can find a question that'll you'll get an understanding of. Think back to the first time you felt attracted to someone. Who was that person? Did you let them know how you were feeling? What did that feeling make you think about yourself? Did you believe that this was a normal feeling, or were you amazed because you felt something that you had never felt before? Your day one assignment. Write down how you harnessed your feelings the first time you reacted to the lust you felt. Did you have animal instincts? And if you had animal instincts, what animal would you say you became and why? Right? These are all different questions. And then, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently? Do you feel ashamed about what you did back then? Unbelievably, what you did then still impacts you in one way or another in what you do now. Are there any modifications that you need to make? If so, what do those changes look like? We go back and we keep trying to pull out all of those things that you started with, because it's how you started is probably why you are where you are now.
Yeah, so shedding the layers of the past in order to activate the
All those
future self.
layers. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so when you're looking at that, like, because I work with a lot of women that transition through divorce, and that's typically, the first guy they've dated, or they're married him because, they wanted to get out of the house. Their parents were strict. They wouldn't let them do all these things. So they have so many limited beliefs on them. So for people that may be either, transitioning through divorce or getting into a new relationship, how do they break down those limited beliefs? I know you of everything that you told us previously, those are great tools and techniques, but how about if someone has that fear and says, you know what? Well, I know what my non-negotiables are. I know what I will deal with and not deal with, but maybe I'll just give this person a chance because they're holding on to that fear.
So what should happen? Professionals teach us that once we come out of a divorce, any type of relationship, whether it's a long-term relationship, a relationship where we were so closely knitted and closely tied together, is you need to take a year. You need to take a year, and you need to be able to spend every major holiday by yourself so that you can get over it. Once you can do that and you feel comfortable, it may take some people 2 years to do that. Well, you don't bring somebody into that space because you're still working on you in small ways. How you don't bring somebody into that space. Be true to yourself and tell somebody that I'm not ready yet, so that you don't misconstrue what's happening with you. You got to stay focused on the true treasure that is being pulled up out of you. Take the year, whether it's a year, 2 years, spend every major holiday by yourself. When you get enough confident and you feel good about being by yourself, you can spend Christmas by yourself. Once you get to that point, you know what? You'll get to a place where you don't have to have somebody to take you to a movie. You can take yourself to a movie. You don't have to have somebody to take you to dinner. You can take yourself to dinner because you feel good now about being by yourself. And now that will also open the door that you start having thoughts like this. I'm not by myself because nobody wants me. I'm by myself because I have narrow parameters, and I refuse to let somebody in my space that does not is not in alignment with where I am and who I am and where I'm going. You see, the narrative starts to change because
Mhm.
your conversation starts to change because your confidence has now been built up. You can't bring somebody in to get over another person, and that's what a lot of people do who are divorced.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think that's the biggest issue right there as well. Another thing I'll add to that is travel by yourself. Because if you could travel by yourself, let me tell you, you could do anything. I've been traveling by myself for many, many years. I've done adventurous things by myself. You really give yourself permission to meet people all around you and have all sorts of relationships. It's not that you're always looking for the one. Because at the end of the day, the one could be really the guy behind you and you haven't even given him a time of the day because you are so blocked up because you're thinking in a different manner. So when you open yourself up and are comfortable with yourself and are traveling by yourself and know that you are not alone, but you have these certain, credible actions that you're going to take in order to meet that person that you want in your life, you start to open yourself up to so many different opportunities and possibilities that you don't even realize that at the end of the day. And Mr. Perfect and Mr. The One could show up right before your eyes when you least expect it. And this is one thing that I love. I think traveling by yourself is important, that every woman should at least do it once or 5 times. I
I
found
I I,
the same.
I totally agree about traveling, and again, that's all encompassed and inclusive in that going to dinner by yourself, taking yourself to the movies by yourself, going to the travel by yourself, take a ride by yourself.
Mhm.
All that is all that's all inclusive because if you have a great relationship with you, then you'll have a great relationship with somebody else. If you have a miserable relationship with you, you're gonna have a miserable relationship with somebody. If you love you, then you're gonna love somebody else. If you like you, you're gonna like somebody else. So it's all about having that relationship that you want with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, if you were a male, would he date you?
Mhm.
And why? What
Yeah.
are your attributes that you feel a man would like about you? You see, you got to start having these true conversations with you, and just start doing the work on you. Get talk to yourself. It's okay. Don't make you crazy. Talk to yourself. It makes you powerful.
It does. It does. And that's what, when you say, about the attributes you give to a man, I always tell women, write 101 things that you want from a man, but give him 101 things that you are presenting yourself to him as well. And it's so interesting because women could write 101 things that they want from a man, but then they can't write 101 things of what they could give their man. And that's where I think love at first spirit plays a huge role in this 21 days challenge that you're doing, is because when you know and love yourself at first sight, or know and love your spirit at the same time, there's so much work that you could do with yourself. But once your partner shows up, he may trigger certain parts of you that now you could communicate totally different and grow and evolve together, because no one's going to be perfect in a relationship. At the
Well,
end of the day,
no one's ever going to be perfect in a relationship. But here's where I feel that what's important about understanding that is, no one's going to be perfect in a relationship, but someone will be perfect for you.
exactly.
And you will be perfect for some. That means that they look at you and they accept you for everything that comes along with you. You accept them for everything that comes along with them. So you're not going in being judgmental. You're going in embracing everything, because once you get to that place of receiving,
Mhm.
recognizing, and being ready, then you can embrace that person as being the perfect person for you, vice versa. It just works. It becomes like a glove that fits.
And that's in your perfect divine masculine and feminine energies. If we're sitting here speaking energies, let's talk about the balance between masculine and feminine, because we all have the masculine and feminine side of us. And I find as women, if we don't heal our masculine side of ourselves, we're constantly going to be victims. We're constantly going to be going back to the old patterns and belief systems. We're going to deal with mediocrity and fall back into that sense of unfulfillment. So how do a lot of women, when we want to bring that balance, that nurture and nature type of a thing. Sorry, I tried, good tongue twister there. That nurture nature, how do we bring balance into that divine masculine feminine? We did a lot of inner work. Now we're about expressing ourselves. It's about really saying, yeah, this is going to work, that's going to work. Then we find this perfect relationship because we're accepting the other person without judgments. But in that acceptance of another person, we're also accepting their imperfections.
Look at yin and yang. Look at yin and yang. Yin and yang are like oxymorons.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that, yin and yang, one is dark, one is light. I mean, it's just they're oxymorons.
Mm-hmm.
But yet the way they contour and work together, you can't have one without the other. You need the yin and you need the yang. So now, how does that work in a relationship? You go into the relationship with the concept of complementing, not competing. If you understand what it means to complement and not compete, it becomes a yin and a yang. Because really and truly, yin and yang don't compete against each other, they complement each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? So that's the same concept that you go into a relationship with, is um, complementing versus competing. I want to complement and not compete against you. I want to Complimenting doesn't mean that I'm constantly saying, oh my God, you look so wonderful. Oh my God, you're beautiful, you're sexy, you're fine, you're no. Complimenting means just who you are, be the best you, give the best presentation of you, you show up, and you in the best presentation compliments that person that you know is a fit for you. You just compliment each other in how you say what you say and how you do what you do, and it's vice versa. You guys are complimenting each other, not competing. See, I came out of a marriage where my ex-wife wanted to compete with me in everything that I did. That's how I learned this concept of complimenting versus competing, and I never could understand why is this girl always wanting to compete with me? We don't need to compete. At the end of the day, there's no competition. But why?
Mm-hmm.
But there were some things in her that we will call tons of insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it would make her feel a certain way if she felt she was competing against me and winning. So she dealt with her insecurities, and no relationship. Listen, that's going to get old after a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to compete. Let's compliment each other because we can get a lot further.
Amen.
So to answer your question, you've done the work and all that. Now, listen, you realize your worth and your value. And so now you're going to go into a situation where who you realize you are, because you've done the work, you realize your value, you got to put yourself in a scenario and situation where you don't have to compete. It's just all about complimenting. And then that it becomes a natural flow. Yeah, you got some flaws. Yeah, he has some flaws. But you know what? Where he's weak, you're probably strong. And
Mhm.
where he's weak, vice versa. And it just works. You guys complement each other. So the flaws are really not on display.
Listen to that, ladies. He is your balance. You are his balance. You complement one another. You're not competing with one another. At the end of the day, if you're competing with one another, you're just in a totally wrong relationship. I've been there. It's actually really interesting when someone's competing with you. And it actually it made me think as to why is this person competing with me when actually we could work together to make us both thrive that much more. I never understood that. I actually laughed through it. And I was so perplexed as to why are you focusing on that part of the relationship rather than focusing on so many other things of the relationship that are uplifting and that could take you to that next level on a spiritual sense. Forget about your whole life in general, the human side. Once you tap into a spiritual sense, I believe within your own self, relationships just come, regardless if it's a relationship with a partner or a relationship with friends, family, anything. Because once you have those steps before you, you know what you want. You have that I'm going to call it the strategy plan, because really the strategy is within yourself. So you bring that great balance between the divine masculine and feminine. You know what your imperfections are, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what you're most likely attracting at the same time, right? Because you're there to work with one another. We're there to work with one another and bring that incredible energy together, that life force energy together. So, what could women expect to do this 21-day challenge, the workbook?
Give me that question again, Zach.
What could women expect when they do this 21-day challenge for them in this workbook, Love at First Sight? What are some outcomes they could achieve?
So I take you through three challenges. Okay, so the first 7 days is lust at first sight, but that first 7 days is I take you through what I call it's a prep challenge. I'm prepping you for what's to come. That's the prep work. And there are points in the 7 days that I'm prepping you. I have you do just prep assignments, just little spontaneous stuff, because I'm prepping you so that you can receive what's to come. Then the next 7 days is what I call a pep challenge. So I prepped you for it. Now I'm pepping you to receive it. So it's like a pep talk, right? And there are spontaneous things that I have you stop and so you're like hearing my voice although I'm not there, but I'm pepping you so that you feel good about you. And then the last 7 days, when you get to that love at first spirit, it's called what I call the step challenge. So we go from the prep, the pep to the step. Step challenge is now you start to walk it out. You start to become it. You become it, it becomes you. And the one thing that I want you to walk away, because I say it so often in the book, is the journey to love is not about finding the one. The journey to love is about becoming the one. And when you become it, it becomes you. So now you start walking it out and you feel good about it. So that's what you walk away with from the 21-day challenge. And I want to challenge your audience, those who will see this, is my objective is to empower 1 million women. We want to achieve this by, so let's say one of your audience says, "Hey, I want to be a part of this." So what we'd like to do is we like to create what we call tribes of women.
Mhm.
So for example, Zach, you're an influencer. You say, "Reggie, I can go get 12 women. I know. I'll create a tribe, and I'm going to take my tribe on a 21-day challenge." So you guys go through this 20. You get me for 4 weeks. You get an intro from me. We talk. We do a Monday, whatever day we decide we're going to do it. I get on the line with you and your 12 women. Uh, we go through this 21-day challenge. You guys are doing it in between. You just get me like every Monday. You get me on the tail end, and once you finish that first 7 days, you get me the next. So I give you the intro, then you start, then you get me that next after you get into each different challenge. So we have now just empowered your tribe of 12. But this tribe is a play on words. So I already can see your face before I say it. It's what we call wet women.
Wet woman?
Wet women.
Juice up,
Women.
ladies.
Wet women means women's empowerment teams. Okay.
Okay.
So these wet women, a woman would love to receive a wet woman. I mean, let's face it. So, but it's women's empowerment teams. So you create these wet women empower. That's your team. That's your tribe. And then so let's say two or three of the ladies in your first 12 say, I can go get 12 women and I want to do this with my 12. And it just becomes perpetual. Now, what is the ticket in the door? People, so how much does it cost? Well, the ticket in the door is really simple. The ticket in the door right now is you just buy the book and the workbook. They both cost $30. You buy the book and the workbook, and that's your ticket in the door. You get me for 4 weeks. We do your tribe of 12, and then we create maybe 2 to 3 facilitators out of that first 12 that you got. They go get another 12. We create a whole nother, and it just becomes perpetual. That's my goal to empower 1 million women.
That's beautiful, ladies. Are you ready to get all wet, juiced up? I wasn't gonna let that one slide. Come on, man.
I
You
love
opened
that.
the gate
That's
for that
why.
one.
That's why I throw it out there. That's exactly what I want. I want y'all to get all wet and let's do this thing.
Ladies, when you're able to sprinkle orgasms all over the universe, trust me, the universe responds back in the most incredible ways that you may not even realize this. So create that wet orgasmic life. Attract the man that you want in your life, attract the relationships you want in your life, attract the money that you want in your life, because that is all connected. When we're able to have an orgasmic life, finances roll through us, adventure becomes us, we become more confident, we build up our self-esteem. So many different attributes, personalities, character traits start to take place within yourself because you fully have surrendered and let go of so many things. Regi, you have brought some incredible wisdom. You have given the woman so much work to do within themselves just in this podcast alone. Never mind 21 days of a great challenge for love at first spirit, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to ourselves. So thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been a true blessing. I loved every minute of it. Ladies, I'm going to drop into that wetness again. At the end of the day, if you haven't had a pool between your legs, I think this is the podcast for you. I'm saying this, the reason I'm saying this is because last year I did market research and I asked women how often they have orgasms or if they ever had an orgasm. And I was shocked at the number of women that never had an orgasm or never felt an orgasm or never squirted. I was shocked at these numbers. So when you say wet, I'm going to say wetness. You need to tap into that wetness. I don't care if it's with a mate, but at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself to that degree, your mate will not know how to love you to that degree. So that's why I bring that up. So if you want to get connected with Regi, everything that belongs to him, his socials, his book, everything is going to be in the show notes below. Like I said, he gave you a lot of great tools and techniques to start working on yourself right now. Know what you want from your man, know what your non-negotiables are, know what your boundaries are, let go of the old self and step into the new self. At the end of the day, it really comes down to being who you want to be to attract the man that you want to attract in your life. If you love this podcast, share it with other people. Comment down below, I should say, and let us know your aha moments and what you have taken away from this podcast. And join us in the Empress Hangout on Facebook as well. Until we connect again, have yourself a great day. Bye for now.